Right now, one man is dead and a woman is injured after a shooting in Beloit. We'll hear how neighbors are feeling after the deadly incident. Plus, whooping cough is on the rise in Wisconsin. We got the surprising numbers as the illness spreads throughout the state. Then later, helping people with disabilities. What a Wisconsin camp is doing to promote healthy activities during the winter months. And this is Weekend Mornings. Thanks for joining us here on this Saturday morning. I'm Kyle Pazorski. It is December 28th. Well, let's start with a look at the first warm forecast. Jacob Montesano is in this morning. Good morning, Jacob. How are you doing?
Good morning, Kyle. Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely very mild out there for this time of the year. We are seeing some sprinkles across the area. Right now, the heaviest rain, and even the rain here is not heavy at all, is around La Crosse, seeing some scattered sprinkles across the region. This is expected to continue throughout the morning hours, especially for areas north of Madison. But as we get closer towards noon, a lot of that precipitation will clear out. In fact, a lot of it will clear out before noon. But can't rule out just a little bit of a mist during the day. Could see some peaks of sunshine in far southern Wisconsin, but for the most part, we are going to see consistent cloud cover. Now, as far as temperatures, very mild. These are well above the average high temperature that we normally see this time of the year. And this is the time of the day where we see the low temperature, 40s in southern Wisconsin, upper 30s further north. Now, we're not dealing with a lot of fog, and the reason for that is because we are seeing some breezy conditions, which is kind of preventing fog from forming. Some areas seeing wind speeds all the way up to around 20 miles per hour. Now, the winds are going to calm down throughout the day, still remaining fairly breezy for the morning and afternoon, as high temperatures not going to rise all that much. We'll see highs in the middle 40s. Again, a few peaks of sunshine for southern Wisconsin, but mostly cloudy skies, especially early for La Crosse. Again, winds are also going to calm down throughout the day, but we are expecting a cool down just around the horizon. I'll talk about that coming up in just a bit.
All right, Jacob, thank you. We'll check back in just a bit. On to our top stories. A person was killed and another was injured after multiple gunshots were fired Thursday night in Beloit. Police there say a man died shortly after they arrived on scene, and a woman is expected to survive. Richard Wyman and his family ducked for cover after hearing more than a dozen shots fired. Wyman moved to the neighborhood a few months ago and said this situation is something that's rare.
All of a sudden, I just heard bang, 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 and it was a whole series of them. I jumped up. I kind of looked out the door, and my son came downstairs. Get out of the door. There's something going on. It's a little traumatic. It kind of shakes you up a little bit.
Beloit police say they can't confirm if they have identified any suspects or if anyone is in custody. The department is asking for witnesses to speak out. If you hear or saw the shooting in Beloit, please reach out to BPD. A Milwaukee man is accused of murdering a woman and injuring another in Kentucky. According to Kentucky State Police, troopers were called to a home in Springfield for reports of a shooting. It is about an hour south of Louisville. Police found a 31-year-old woman dead in their home and a 52-year-old woman injured. Through their investigation, officers say they identified Roosevelt Davis as a suspect. Police found Davis driving a vehicle and arrested him. He later told investigators he robbed a bank in Milwaukee and drove to Kentucky with the purpose of killing the two women. He is charged with murder, attempted murder, and burglary. The Dane County Traffic Safety Commission is urging motorists to drive sober or get pulled over. So far this year in Dane County, 16 people have died and 256 were injured in impaired driving crashes. Over the last 5 years, there were nearly 1,100 impaired driving crashes, resulting in 74 deaths and over 1,300 injuries.
Let that sink in. That's leaving empty chairs for families, holidays, birthday celebrations, and times together. And that's because of alcohol and drug-related crashes in our community.
Police say if you plan to celebrate New Year's, to identify a sober designated driver, contact a family member, or call a taxi or rideshare service. If you do suspect a driver is impaired, you should also call 911 and provide as much detail as possible about the driver, vehicle, and its location. The number of whooping cough cases in Wisconsin are pretty eye-opening, and there's been 46 times as many cases this year compared to that of 2023. Reporter Bree Bialak spoke to the state health officials who stressed this illness is something that needs to be taken seriously.
Pertussis, or whooping cough, is a respiratory tract infection that's caused by a bacteria. Statewide so far in 2024, there's been more than 2,300 cases. Compare that to 51 in all of 2023.
We continue to see cases of pertussis that are reported to us every week. So we'll kind of take a look at things as we go into the new year, and hopefully cases will start to decline.
Miranda Egebrecht works for the Marathon County Health Department. So far, there's been 73 cases in the county this year. Compare that to 5 in 2023 and 0 in 2022.
So we are seeing extremely high levels, and it's going back to kind of those typical patterns prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so nationally we're seeing that, statewide we're seeing that, and we are also seeing that here in Marathon County.
When it comes to a respiratory illness, initially it may be hard to tell the difference between COVID, the flu, and whooping cough. As it progresses through, there's a telltale difference.
But then it develops into more of the cough, those coughing spells that really lead people to sometimes throw up after coughing, make it difficult to breathe while having those coughing fits.
The good news, whooping cough is treatable with an antibiotic and largely preventable with a Tdap vaccine. While Wisconsin DHS reports no deaths from whooping cough so far in 2024, certain people are more at risk.
Anyone can get pertussis. The most vulnerable populations are very young, so infants, especially those younger than 12 months, individuals who are immunocompromised, and older adults.
Now, if you think you have whooping cough or were exposed, you should get a hold of your doctor as soon as possible. And if you're sick, stay home so you don't expose others. Well, one thing you'll hear many state lawmakers talk about at length next year is the budget surplus here in the state. And that's a pool of unspent money that the state government has, and Wisconsin has a record-setting amount of that money to spend. We asked lawmakers on this week's For the Record coming up tomorrow what their plans are for that chunk of change. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos says part of why that surplus is so high is because Governor Tony Evers has vetoed GOP tax cuts.
The vast majority of the money is still sitting in the state's treasury. I think over half of the money is the result of those vetoed tax cuts. So my idea is to take that off the table. We're going to try to get those passed early in the session. So before we even start the budget, that money's gone.
Now, 2025 is a big year financially, and that's because when lawmakers set the state budget, it happens then. Vos is saying he doesn't want last year's money to get lumped into this next year. Republicans will have to work lightning fast to get something done before that process starts. But what are the Democrats' plans?
What we saw last session was Republicans try time and again to pass a tax cut that benefited primarily the wealthiest Wisconsinites. It's not something we're interested in.
Now, depending on who these tax cuts impact, Democrats might not be on board, but Republicans are in the driver's seat with the majority. So we won't expect Democrats to have too much to say. You can see more from our interviews this Sunday at 10:30 on For the Record on WISC-TV. Winter weather can pose challenges for us, especially here in Wisconsin, where snow and ice stick around for many months. But for those with disabilities, the wintry weather can be a real barrier in everyday life. Reporter Maddie Heimsch has the story.
It can get a little isolating if you're inside all the time.
Carly Fosco is the director at Camp Wabeek in the Wisconsin Dells, a camp that serves kids and adults with physical disabilities.
Anyone and everyone with a diagnosis is able to come to camp and get a summer camp experience here.
Camp Wabeek makes that summer camp experience a reality year-round, hosting campers for weekend programs even in the wintry Wisconsin weather.
In the wintertime when campers are here, we're inside buildings and we're still doing those fun programs like camp, but we're not getting to go swimming. We're not going on the ropes course,
Fosco says for people with physical disabilities, the winter months can be especially difficult.
And they're not able to go outside as much, just like you and I, but you and I can go and maybe go skiing or go do more winter things that are more accessible to us.
And it's not just those fun winter activities. Everyday tasks like moving down an icy sidewalk or getting around snow piles pose real challenges to those with physical impairments.
A lot of times people with disabilities don't go outside as much because of those barriers, like not having the access to plowing or having somebody available to shovel a pathway for them.
And when outdoor obstacles keep people inside, their mental health can struggle as well. So if you have a friend, family member, or neighbor with a disability tackling the winter weather,
maybe taking the 10-15 minutes and shoveling for them, or just checking in on them and seeing how they're doing during the winter months.
Reporting in the Wisconsin Dells, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
All right, Maddie, thank you. Time now is 5:10 here on your Saturday morning. Still ahead, holiday shopping grew for retailers this year. We'll go through some of the numbers next. Plus, Jacob is back with the full forecast as we take a live look out at the state capitol building in downtown Madison. You're watching Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. We are going to be staying mild the next couple of days with a few small chances of precipitation, but then we are going to see colder temperatures by the end of this week, end of next week and next weekend. So looking at the current radar, again, we're seeing those sprinkles, especially around La Crosse, but even though it's not showing up on radar, we are probably seeing some light precipitation across Dane County at this hour. This is going to clear up throughout the morning. By the time we get to noon, we're only going to see very light precipitation, even lighter than what we're seeing right now, but can't rule that out through the afternoon hours as we are going to see mostly cloudy skies, maybe a few peaks of sunshine here and there, but otherwise we're not going to see much precipitation after this light moisture we're seeing in the morning. Now, once we get into Sunday, we're going to see some moisture move into southeastern Wisconsin, but much of our area should be dry. Best chance of moisture will be east of Madison. It looks like it will start out as rain and then transition into snow during the afternoon Sunday, but it's going to be a quick-lived system. We're not expecting much accumulation even when the snow does fall, and then it will clear out by Sunday night. And then as we get towards Monday, if you look closely, there are a few specks of pink on the forecast. That does indicate the possibility of some freezing rain. So the moisture on Monday could be a little bit of snow, a little bit of freezing rain, a little bit of actual rainfall. And although it will be very light, it just takes a little bit to create very slippery roads. So just be a little bit careful on Monday. Shouldn't accumulate too much, but again, the roads definitely could be a little bit slippery, and that's going to continue throughout the evening into Monday night. But again, we're not expecting anything heavy in the form of precipitation. So looking at the temperatures today, we're going to see highs in the middle 40s, very similar to the temperatures right now. Not going to rise all that much, and the temperatures once again won't drop too much overnight, although we are going to see a little bit of fog as the winds calm down. So low temperatures will be in the 30s with some foggy conditions possible. And then for tomorrow, we're going to see high temperatures in the upper 30s, lower 40s. So again, another mild day and another cloudy day. And the cloudy, mild days are going to continue for Monday and Tuesday. But then the temperatures are going to fall throughout the week. We'll have high temperatures possibly only in the teens by the time we get to Friday. And also once the temperatures cool down, the clouds will clear out of the area. So we are expecting fairly sunny skies once we see those high temperatures in the teens. We could see low temperatures in the single digits with some wind chill values close to zero. But it doesn't look like we're going to see too breezy of conditions. So although the wind chills are definitely going to be cold, they're not going to be anything we haven't seen before. In fact, it actually will be milder compared to some of the other cold mornings we saw earlier this month. So mild and cloudy the next few days, a few light precipitation chances, sunny and cold for the end of this week, end of next week, with some snow by next Sunday.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, it's the most wonderful time of the year for retailers. Total U.S. retail spending grew by 3.8% this year compared to last year. That's according to preliminary data from MasterCard. And it's no surprise that shoppers took advantage of the online deals they found, clicking their way to 6.7% of year-over-year e-commerce growth. But it might not all be some good news. Economists believe this kind of consumer spending could be a warning sign for some things to come.
We are overdue by historical standards for a recession, and the kind of behavior you're seeing now is often the kind of behavior you see when you're at the top of a market cycle.
So financial experts recommend consumers pay down their debt and to lock in lower interest rates as we head into the new year. All right, meanwhile, the National Retail Federation is predicting nearly $900 billion in goods will be sent back this holiday season. Last year, e-commerce items were the most likely to be returned. That all means the holiday shopping season lasts a lot longer than you might think. The FedEx shipping hub in Anchorage, Alaska, is running around the clock right now, sorting up to 80,000 packages a day.
The return rush is a period of time where people still have some anxiety that they want packages sent back, and they need our help in getting those back to the stores.
So before you send back those unwanted gifts you bought online, shipping experts recommend doing your homework, as return policies may vary by retailer. President-elect Donald Trump is asking the Supreme Court to pause an upcoming ban on TikTok. It's scheduled to go into effect on January 19th. That's unless the platform is sold to a U.S. company. In his first administration, Trump unsuccessfully tried to ban the social media app through executive orders. Congress approved the ban this past April, citing security issues. But yesterday, in a legal filing, Trump asked justices to pause the ban so his administration can have some time to find a middle ground and keep the app running. Homelessness appears to be surging across the United States. The U.S. Government of Housing and Urban Development reported that more than 771,000 people were living without housing in 2024. That is up from 18% last year. Experts blame the increase on high housing costs, stricter local laws, and natural disasters. Veteran homelessness also bucked the trend and continued to fall with an 8% drop this year. reaching its lowest level on record. A number of specific communities also saw a drop, including Los Angeles as well as Dallas. The mystery is deepening over the crash of a passenger airliner in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people. Russian officials blame the crash on a bird strike, but aviation analysts say birds don't fly at the altitude that the initial damage occurred at, and some survivors report hearing an explosion over an area known for clashes in Russia's war with Ukraine.
Ukrainian drones were active at the time, and this is commensurate with everything we've seen in the pilot's communication with air traffic control. But the most likely hypothesis we see is that it was struck by an air defense missile, almost certainly Russian.
These clues recall the Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 crash when Russian-backed forces shot down the passenger jet over eastern Ukraine in 2014. That incident killed all 298 people on board. All right, it's now 5:20, still ahead. Jake was back with the first warn forecast. Plus, Will Ober shares the 3 things you need to watch this weekend. This is Weekend Mornings.
Let's take a look at the New Year's Eve forecast. Now, there is expected to be a system that tracks across the United States, but the track of that system and its location are the models are in a little bit of a discrepancy over that. So here's a look at the European model. This one shows a more favorable look for southern Wisconsin, for those of you that like snowfall, because it does move some of that snow into our area, especially for New Year's Eve morning into the afternoon. Even though this track track is more favorable for snow, we're still only expecting a few inches at most. This isn't expected to be a massive snow system, but looking at the American model, this model tracks that system further south, well south of Wisconsin, even south of Chicago, and it would bring mostly dry conditions across our area for New Year's Eve. But in any case, like I mentioned, even the more favorable track to bring snow across our area won't bring in much, and my guess is we'll probably see a little bit of an in-between with those systems, which would still bring fairly dry conditions across southern Wisconsin during that time, but we'll keep you updated on the track of the possibility of snow on New Year's Eve.
All right, Jacob, good things to know. Thank you. Well, there is never a shortage of films and shows streaming online. This morning, our Will Loper shares a few of the best in this weekend's 3 Things to Watch.
Telephone call for you, my lord. Mr. Barber is a producer and director.
He wants to make a film at Downton.
A moving picture at Downton.
Revisit your favorite comforting cast of characters with the 2022 film Downton Abbey: A New Era, newly streaming on Peacock.
Years ago, before you were born, I met a man. They spend a few days together and he gives her a house.
You never thought to turn it down?
Do I look as if I'd turned down a villa in the south of France?
Half the Crawley family goes to France to investigate an inherited villa. The other half stays at the manor where a film is being shot.
It is an art, choosing gladiators. You have something in you. Rage. Never let it go.
And it may still be playing in theaters, but you can now rent or buy Gladiator 2 at home on video on demand.
There is plenty of pain waiting for you in the next life. I don't know why you are so greedy for it in this one.
20 years after the first Gladiator, there's more action, double the emperors, and a coliseum filled with sharks. What more do you need?
Let's begin. Up for an adventure?
Always.
And watch more alternate Marvel superhero storylines in a 3rd season of What If, newly streaming on Disney+.
It's showtime.
Here we go!
Howard, are you sure you can fly this?
Are you kidding? I'm a duck. I was born to fly. Strap in.
Oh, move over!
Those are the 3 things you need to watch, and this is Will Loper for Weekend Mornings.
5:30 right now. Wisconsin law enforcement is asking people to drive sober through the new year. What you need to know is coming up. Plus, news in the sports world. Sportscaster Greg Gumbel dies at 78. We'll take a look at his career. This is Weekend Mornings, and once again, thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Pazorski. It is Saturday, December 28th. We start again with the first one forecast. Jacob Montesano is standing by with that. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning, Kyle. Right now we are seeing some sprinkles across the area, but the rain is very light. But even though it's not showing up on radar right now across Dane County, there are likely a few spots seeing that light sprinkle to mist activity. The most consistent rain is around La Crosse, but even here it is very light, and this may continue throughout the morning, possibly even seeing some misty conditions during the afternoon, but we're not expected to see much in terms of moderate or heavy rainfall. Now, it is very mild, and there is the humidity is fairly high, but we're not seeing a lot of fog across the area. Looking at the visibility, pretty clear right now, and the reason for that is because we are seeing some wind across the area, which is kind of preventing fog from forming. There are a few locations seeing wind speeds up around 20 miles per hour, but there will be a lot of fog later tonight into Sunday morning. I'll talk about that later. First, here's a look at today's forecast. Highs will be in the middle 40s, a few peaks of sunshine at times. Winds are going to calm down throughout the day, and the calmer winds tonight will allow that fog to form. And as we look at La Crosse's forecast, again, a few peaks of sunshine, highs in the middle 40s. But I'll talk more in detail about the forecast for Sunday and the cool down that's expected later next week. All those details will be a bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Some top stories we're following this morning. The Dane County Traffic Safety Commission is urging motorists to drive sober or get pulled over through the new year. So far in 2024, 16 people have died and 256 were injured in Dane County alone by impaired driving crashes. Police say if you plan to celebrate New Year's, to identify a sober designated driver, to contact a family member, or to also call a taxi or rideshare service. A Milwaukee man is accused of murdering a woman and injuring another in Kentucky. According to Kentucky State Police, troopers were called to a home in Springfield for reports of a shooting. It is located about an hour south of Louisville. Police found a 31-year-old woman dead in the home and a 52-year-old woman injured. Through their investigation, officers say they identified Roosevelt Davis as a suspect, and he is now being charged with murder, attempted murder, and burglary. CBS sportscaster and three-time Emmy winner Greg Gumbel has died. Many knew him from his work as host of college basketball on CBS, as well as for lending his voice to a myriad of iconic moments across a variety of sports. Gumbel served as a play-by-play announcer and studio host for CBS Sports and previously spent years on air for NBC Sports. He won legions of fans with his work hosting coverage ranging from the NFL Today to several Super Bowls and Olympic Games. He was 78 years old. As millions of Americans hit the roads or head to airports this weekend, 2024 is shaping up to be a record-breaking year for travel. CBS's Bradley Blackburn has more on how weather is creating challenges for people trying to get home before this new year.
Across the country, terminals are packed and lines are long as millions race to the skies.
I wasn't anticipating that, that's for sure. But I see the security times, and that should be all right.
The TSA says they've seen their 10 busiest days ever at security checkpoints, all in 2024. Those days, they screened an average of 2.9 million passengers.
My mom and stepdad made sure we got here early enough.
A crowded system has had little help from Mother Nature this week. Severe storms in parts of the country led to nearly 800 flight cancellations Thursday. Hundreds of cancellations in Dallas had ripple effects nationwide.
What happens in Boston, what happens in Dallas, what happens in LA will impact what's happening here in Atlanta.
Friday, most flights took off on time. And on the roads, the good news is low gas prices, the lowest in more than 3 years, according to Gas Buddy.
Americans should snap their selfies with these prices now because this tends to be close to the bottom. Gas prices will likely start going up, especially in mid and late February when demand goes up.
Tough weather conditions combined with millions behind the wheel are a recipe for congestion, but many are prepared for the worst.
Well, we left at 4 a.m. today, so there wasn't that much traffic till we got about 10 minutes from here.
Travel troubles, a holiday tradition you can count on. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
And the TSA says one of its busiest days of the season is still ahead as they expect to see a final wave of holiday travelers on Monday, the 30th. Taking a look on Wall Street now, where stocks ended in the red on Friday. The day closed out a shortened holiday week. Friday's losses came following a sell-off in big tech stocks, but despite the losses, it has still been a year of historic highs as the Magnificent Seven group of high-performing tech stocks has accounted for more than half of the gains so far this year. And here's a close look at the numbers. The Dow tumbles nearly 334 points. The Nasdaq loses 298, and the S&P is down 67. Someone on the West Coast just became a billionaire. There was one lucky winner on Friday night's Mega Millions jackpot worth an estimated $1.2 billion with a B. The historic prize has a cash option of nearly $550 million. That's according to the lottery's website. The winning ticket was sold in California. The next drawing is on Tuesday. While the holidays can be a tough time for many people, especially those dealing with food insecurity, Madison's Second Harvest Food Bank says they are seeing record numbers of food distribution compared to pre-pandemic levels. Partners with the organization are seeing 20 to 40% increases in the number of people walking through their doors. And in 2024, the food bank has distributed more food than ever in its history, with 2025 looking to continue on that pace.
The reality is we need people to step up even more because a lot of the funding that we got over the last couple of years for pandemic related funding has now essentially gone away, and so those were millions of dollars that were put towards putting food and locally sourced food onto the tables of folks right here in southwestern Wisconsin.
Second Harvest adds that there's generally a food pantry in about every community, and the organization recommends people to reach out to their local emergency food provider to ask how to get help. The Dunn County Sheriff's Office in northwestern Wisconsin is mourning the loss of Correctional Officer Jeff Reynolds, who served for 17 years. Reynolds was killed early Christmas Eve when a suspected drunk driver ran a stop sign and hit his vehicle on Highway 12. The driver is being charged with homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle and is being held on a $75,000 bond. The Wisconsin State Patrol is investigating the crash. Officer Reynolds is remembered as a valued member of their department. Time now 5:38, still ahead here on Weekend Mornings. We'll take a look at some new hobbies to consider going into the new year. Plus, Jacob is back with the first warm forecast. You're watching Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the temperatures over the next 10 days. We're going to be mild the next few days with highs in the 40s, middle 30s for Tuesday, then 20s Wednesday, Thursday, and continuing to drop as we head towards the end of next week. The coldest day looks to be Friday or Saturday, where highs will be around 20, maybe even in the teens. Lows will be in the single digits. And as we take a look at the wind chills during this time, we are expected to see the wind chills drop into the single digits. We could even see a few areas drop below zero, but as you can see, they're not going to be extremely cold compared to some of the days we saw earlier this month where wind chills were near -20. So although it definitely will be cold and definitely more winter-like, we certainly have seen worse. And the coldest mornings do look to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, with some temperatures warming up a little bit by the time we get to Sunday. And we also should be dry during this time with maybe some snow showers next Sunday. But at this point in time, accumulation is very unclear.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, if you plan on making a New Year's resolution, got some ideas. How about making one that will help your brain? Doctors say crafting things like knitting, painting, and pottery can actually bring you peace. The National Endowment for the Arts Agency says if you're looking to start a new hobby in the new year, experts say to tune into your creative side.
First of all, think back to what interested you as a kid and lean into that. Try new things with a positive, open mind. And do be patient with yourself. You don't have to be great at this or even good at this to get the benefits.
Experts say there are other crafts that can help promote mental well-being. Those include crocheting, design photo books, and adult coloring books as well. Well, next this morning, we've got a tip to keep your brain young and healthy and evidence that your care can vary depending on who your doctor is. Wendy Gillette has some of the week's top medical stories.
Who your doctor is may determine whether you get admitted to the hospital. A UCLA study found that some doctors are more likely to admit ER patients than others. But doctors who often admitted their patients often saw their patients discharged after a short stay, suggesting there could be unnecessary admissions. Our brain age is linked to our vascular health. A study out of Sweden found people who had inflammation or high glucose levels also had brains that appeared older than normal. But people who lead a healthier lifestyle, including doing regular exercise, had younger looking brains that functioned better than average. The holidays can be a big source of stress, but psychologists have some advice to take care of your mental health. They recommend letting go of perfectionism and accepting that not everything you plan will come out perfectly. Focus on the things that make you happy and ask for help if you're overwhelmed. Those are some of the week's top health stories. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, New York.
And it's now 5:45. Still ahead, Zach is in with a look at the morning sports report. Plus, Jacob has the full forecast as we take a look outside at the state capitol. This is Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. It is going to stay mild with some fog the next couple of days, and there also will be a few small chances of precipitation. Now, it is expected to be colder by the end of next week, but by the time it gets colder, we are expecting dry conditions. So looking at the current radar once again, still seeing those light sprinkles, but again, nothing too extreme, and temperatures are above freezing, so it is mostly in the form of some solid rain. Now, as we take a look at the visibility forecast, it's not too bad this morning, but it is expected to get foggy later tonight. The big reason and the big difference for tonight compared to right now is it's not going to be windy, which will allow those foggy conditions to really develop. Visibilities will be down to a quarter of a mile for just about everybody. Could see some improvements for the afternoon, but then the foggy conditions will roll right back into our area for Monday morning. Could definitely see some dense fog advisories, but it is expected to get better as we head into Tuesday for the end of the year, I should say. Now, as we take a look at the precipitation forecast, those sprinkles will clear up throughout the morning. Can't rule out some light sprinkles and some misty conditions for the afternoon, as we are going to be very cloudy, but we should be fairly dry for the afternoon hours. Now, as we get into Sunday, we'll see some moisture move into southeastern Wisconsin, mostly impacting areas east of Madison, east of our area entirely. Could see some snowfall as well. But this system will be very quick, should clear out by the time we get to Sunday night. And then for Monday, if you look closely, there will be some pink showing up on the forecast, indicating some light freezing rain. So it's not expected to be very heavy, but it could be enough to make roads fairly slippery, as we'll see just some light flurries, light freezing rain, maybe some light sprinkles during the morning and afternoon hours on Monday. But we are going to remain cloudy as well. So as we take a look at the temperature forecast, mostly cloudy skies, just a few peaks of sunshine here and there. Highs will be in the 40s today. That's going to continue for tomorrow as well. Mostly cloudy skies, upper 30s, lower 40s. And that's really going to continue through the end of the year. We're not going to see a lot of sunshine, but temperatures will be mild. Now, it will get a little cold by the time we get to 2025, and especially towards next weekend. Highs will be in the teens. Lows could be in the single digits at times. Could see some breezy conditions, but the wind chills aren't going to be too brutal. They'll probably drop to around 0. Maybe a little bit below 0, but not as bad as we've seen some previous days where the wind chills got close to -20. So here's a look at Madison's forecast to end this year and to start next year. Some sprinkles early today, then some fog for Sunday morning, also some fog for Monday morning, but we also will see that a little bit of a wintry mix on Monday, which could create some slippery roads. Tuesday, we also will see a chance of that wintry mix, but it looks like it may actually all be in the form of snow. If it does precipitate, just a small chance of that snowfall. But we are going to remain cloudy with sunshine by the time the temperatures get colder.
The Holiday Face-Off Tournament has been good to the Badger men's hockey team. Wisconsin has won 2 of the last 3 titles, including last year's championship, where they posted back-to-back shutouts. Now, up first for the reigning champs, today a date with Ferris State. And after a 2-week break, you could say Mike Hastings' squad was excited to be back at practice, and even more looking forward to a trip to Pfizer Forum to defend their crown.
How can you not be excited about playing in a Christmas tournament where you're playing for a championship? Right? You don't get that very often in a regular season when you talk about college hockey. So it's a little different. It's a prep that if we are fortunate at the end of the year to find a way to get to the NCAA tournament, it's a little bit of the dry run like that. You're playing in a different place, a neutral site. You've got a different schedule. So I think it's a great opportunity for us we want to capitalize on.
Last year, Jordan Love caught fire right around the time of Toyotathon. This year, that trend has continued since the Toyota promotion began in mid-November. Love has thrown 9 touchdowns to just 1 interception. And during that stretch, the Packers are 5-1. This Sunday, they have a chance to not only continue their hot play during Toyotathon, but get a big-time win against one of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah, badly. Obviously, we only have one more chance here this week. So definitely, like I've talked about before, we got to be able to go win these games against the really good teams in the league and, set ourselves up for kind of the situation we'll be in for the playoffs, on the road playing good teams. So definitely a good test this week.
And that's it for Morning Sports. Have a great day.
Coming up, we've got your eye opener and all this morning's headlines.
Plus, as we make that annual New Year's promise to ourselves to get fit, we'll show you the high-tech and relatively low-cost way some people are adding exercise and fun to their routines.
Then we're going to sit down with Betsy Lerner, who has spent decades in the literary world as an editor, agent, even a nonfiction writer. Now at age 64, she's out with her first novel, but the inspiration for it has been with her the whole time.
And New York City's Bungalow was recently awarded a Michelin Bib Gourmand for Chef Vikas Khanna. The restaurant is a dream realized and an opportunity to build a cultural bridge through a modern take on his home country's cuisine.
All that plus music from Maggie Rose in our Saturday session. It is all just ahead on CBS Saturday Morning.
All right, we're back now. Jacob has the final check. Hey, going to be kind of quiet for the next couple days, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be seeing fairly dry conditions, just a few small chances of precipitation.
Well, that's good news, right? I mean, welcomed.
Yeah, we are going to see some foggy conditions, though, especially Sunday morning and then again Monday morning. And then for the precipitation on Monday, it will be in the form of a light wintry mix, so we could see some slippery roads. It just takes a little bit of that freezing rain to get the slippery roads, and we may see that on Monday. For Tuesday, there is a system expected to track across the United States, but it looks like it will stay south of us. If it does drift up north, we could see a few inches of snowfall. We'll continue updating the forecast accordingly, but for now, we're expecting much of it to stay south. We are going to remain cloudy. By the time we get to 2025 on Wednesday, it is going to be colder, and then we'll see colder temperatures continue for the end of next week. But it also will be more sunny by the time the temperatures drop down, so we're not expecting much snow until potentially next Sunday. But obviously, being almost 10 days out, accumulation is very uncertain at this time. So for the weekend, expect the mild and cloudy conditions to continue. We are going to be fairly dry, but we also are going to be foggy. Can't rule out some light snow, some light rain, and some light freezing rain. It will just be kind of that forecast the next couple of days to end 2024. Just fairly gloomy, although it will be above normal.
All right, Jacob, thank you. And thank you all for watching. We're going to be back here again at 8. We'll see you then.